Alrighty guys, how's it going out there? Rooster and 10, roostercb.com. I'm going to share an experience with you guys today that a local operator went through because I think someone out there somewhere could find this helpful and save them from having this kind of trouble in the future. Now I know how it goes in radio. A lot of times people reject advice if it's something they haven't experienced themselves or something they haven't seen up close, someone experience. A good example of that is when I tell people that are having trouble with their amplifiers, especially in mobile setups, not to run 3-foot jumpers, okay, 3-foot patch cables. And people will argue with this until they're blue in the face. That's fine. But I can tell you that I've helped a lot of my customers, a lot of operators, by telling them to do that, and it solves all their trouble. Okay, I'm not here to argue about that. That's a whole different conversation, and we've done plenty of videos on that in the past. But I am going to share this experience with you. And again, this is kind of to make a point as well, I guess. So this operator, I'm not going to give his handle. I don't know if it would embarrass him or if he wants to be put out here like that. But he bought a bunch of equipment here recently. Bought it from another guy that I'm friends with. The stuff all came from me originally, but he's bought it, secondhand or whatever from this other gentleman that didn't use it very much. Okay, he got a Fat Boy 10-pill 2879C with a power supply, and he got a Carl built 16-pill 2879C, also with a power supply. Okay, he gets this stuff hooked up, and he's running it, but he's having a few issues when he's running it. Number one, his amplifiers are getting hot. More than they should be, and getting hot after not very much talk time. Okay, he's noticing both amps are running kind of warm. Number two, his audio, his sound over the air is noticeably distorted, and so much so that I said that something wasn't right. Kind of sounds like something's trying to break down in his chain of equipment. Bad jumper, piece of equipment breaking down, radio breaking down, something wasn't right. And last, but certainly not least, when he would run the 16, the relays would stick on it. He'd have to hit the off switch and turn it back on real quick to get the thing to unkey after every other transmission. Okay, it was happening fairly often. Okay, so it's like you start thinking, what could be causing all this? And you guys are probably trying to process this, for those of you that care to watch this video. Probably trying to think what could have been causing all these issues to happen. Well, my first question to him was, what else do you have in line with it? Do you have any kind of other stuff, like what kind of driver are you using, etc., etc., etc. And we ended up coming upon what I almost knew immediately was the culprit, and that was a Dosy meter. One exactly like this one, except for here, you guys will have to pretend it has a antenna switch that goes from vertical to horizontal to vertical and horizontal to auxiliary, which auxiliary would be your ground plane. Okay, well, first thing about this where it has the position where you can run flat and vertical, that's literally the worst thing ever, okay, because almost under no circumstance are you going to have a good SWR when you're trying to run both at one time. But that's not what this is about, okay? Pretend that we have the antenna switch here. Okay, so he's got one amplifier that's doing probably 2 kW or so the way he's running it, and he's got another one that's probably doing 3,500 to 4,000 PEP the way he's running it. And when he told me that he had a Dosy meter in line, which I pretty much already knew, I said, you know what, man? Take that meter out of line and run your antenna coax directly to the back of your amplifier. Run it to the output side of your amp. And I said, see if it stops doing that, if everything gets better. Well, not only did he remove this meter out of line, he went so far as to buy a bird meter from me. Now, I didn't tell him to do this, to sales pitch him on a bird meter, although that was my recommendation. I didn't even mention buying a bird meter. He asked me, hey, do you happen to have a bird meter over there? And I said, yep, I sure do. Doesn't have a peak kit in it, but I've got one. He wanted it. So here's what happens. He buys the bird meter. He buys a 5,000 watt slug from me, and he takes this stuff home and he hooks it up. And guess what? Not only is the relay not sticking on his 16 anymore, he notices immediately that his amplifiers are all running cooler. Doesn't matter whether he's on the 10 or whether he's on the 16, he can sit here and carry on conversations for hours at a time, intermittently. He's not sitting there locking the mic down playing music, but he can intermittently sit here and carry on conversations and doesn't even have to put his hand on his amp. The air coming out of it's nice and cool. Also, no longer is his audio being distorted on the air to where it sounds like he has something breaking down. All those troubles went away when he put the bird meter in line and removed the Dosy. All that stuff got better, okay? So what the heck was going on with the Dosy meter to cause these issues? Well, number one issue, the antenna switch that comes in the Dosy meters is not rated at 4,000 watts, okay? You have a 4,000 watt meter and an antenna switch that's lucky if it holds 1,500 watts. PEP. Now, I know people have ran more than that through them, and they've got away with it. I understand that. It's like the 3-foot jumper thing. You'll have 100 people tell you that they've ran one, and they put 10,000 watts through one. Okay? Now, here's what I'm telling you. Just giving you the facts of what happened. 3 major issues when the Dosy meter was in line. 0 issues when it gets taken out of line, okay? So, here is the reason, the reason these things were happening with his amplifiers. And you can probably kind of already guess where this is going. If we were to put a bird meter between the Dosy and between his last amplifier and check the bird meter and reflect, and that would be the power coming back from the watt meter into the amplifier, I'm guessing he would have had a lot of reflected power. Okay, a lot of reflected power equals a high SWR. Okay, so he could have had a 1-0 or a 1-1 SWR coming from his antenna into the Dosy, but by the time he came out of the Dosy to his amplifier, especially when applying power or pressure to the watt meter, he was getting a high SWR. And that's because the meter can't take the power. Okay, they're very cheaply made. They're not going to handle that kind of output. They're not going to handle 4,000 watts. Okay, I ran Dosy meters back in the day. I didn't start on a bird meter. I didn't know any better. Okay, this is what I thought was the best equipment money could buy. And I even ran a 16 pill through one for a while. Not for a long time, but for a little while. I think I ended up getting a bulldog meter, and then I got a bird meter when I had a 16. But that was many, many years ago. But the meter will break down. I can't tell you guys how many 16 pills I have seen blown up because of these meters. And that's because what they do. When you start applying pressure to them, you're starting to overload the watt meter. You're starting to burn up the input of it. It can't handle it. The integrity of the watt meter will break down. And as that watt meter breaks down, so the watt meter is over here on the right, the reflect is over here on the left. As the watt meter starts to give up and break down, guess what? The reflect comes up. And eventually what you end up having is a dead short where the watt meter is toast and the reflect is pegged to the wall. And that's where it would have went if he had kept running this thing. You could literally hear it on the air. You could hear his audio and stuff kind of breaking down. You could tell the stuff was running on the ragged edge. And he is very fortunate. He's very fortunate that he didn't blow an amplifier up by doing this. But anyway, that's what goes on with these things, guys. I've said it 100 times. I'm not telling you that you have to go out and buy a bird meter, although there's not a lot of alternative choices that handle a lot of power. But what I am telling you is, if you're spending thousands of dollars on amplifiers, and you've got all this high dollar equipment in line, if you value your equipment at all, you will not hook one of these meters up to it. I don't care if it's a 2,000, if it's a 1,000, they can't be trusted, okay? I sold the 1,000s for a while, but I'm not going to say you guys something that I don't recommend, okay? I don't recommend running one of these, all right? If you're running no more than maybe 2,000 watts PEP, I might say, okay, run a dosimeter. If that's what your heart desires, run a dosimeter. But there are better options out there. Hell, I would rather have one of the little Radio Shack meters from back in the day than have one of these. And they hold like 2,000 watts. Or find you a nice used MFJ somewhere. Even that is better than one of these. Because they will tear your equipment up. I'm telling you. Around 1,500 to 2,000 watts is my recommended max to go through one. Okay, that's just my opinion and my advice. You guys can take it or leave it. I'm just sharing with you an experience that somebody had, and I'm sure if he was on here, he would tell you the exact same thing. Because it's like I told him, this is kind of funny that you see this happen. Convincing somebody to buy a bird meter sometimes is like one of the hardest things because the slugs are expensive, the meter is expensive, and obviously it has a lot smaller scale than a dosimeter, and people will find every way in the world to talk themselves out of buying a bird meter. But it's the weirdest thing. After someone gets one, it's like they turn their nose up at everybody that runs a dosimeter, okay? And you may say that I'm doing the same thing right now, but I haven't ran a dosimeter in years. It's been probably 17 or 18 years since I've used one, aside from just hooking one up and testing it or whatever. But that's kind of the bird meter effect, I guess you'd say, because once people make that jump to running a bird meter, they're like, oh my God, a Dosy. Like, what? Get off the Dosy meter, man. Get off the Dosy watts. I wouldn't have that. That's a piece of crap. But it's just kind of funny how that happens. All right, guys, y'all have a good one out there at Rooster and 10, roostercb.com. We are covered up with orders, okay? I'm cranking these things out quick as I can. And I promise you guys, I'm working day and night on getting everything shipped out of here. Y'all have a good one. See you, bye.